Hey everyone, I wanted to talk a little bit about this knife here, which is the cold steel Bushranger. I very much like this knife for its aesthetics. I find that it's an extremely handsome blade and very well designed handle. But I actually hate using this knife, and I'm going to sell this one for a variety of reasons that make this knife, although good looking, a bad knife in my opinion. Let's go through my reasons for getting rid of this knife. I already mentioned the aesthetics, really good in my opinion. This handle, contoured G10 with no liners, is very handsome. The color speaks to me very much, I love it. And the overall design with this kind of integrated guard in the handle scales is very handsome. The blade as well, this kind of clip point with false edge on the top is fine, and high saber grind like this with the brushed finish. I do very much like it. I find it to be a handsome, well-proportioned knife when it comes to the design. The other side is fine. The bead blasted pocket clip is fine as well, and this thumb disc complements the blade and almost makes it kind of harpoon shaped, if you will. I like the placement of the thumb disc. That was for the aesthetics. Now let's go to practical applications of this knife, and that's where we're going to start finding some issues, I believe. So first of all, this knife isn't large. The handle barely sticks out at the end of my palm here, so it's really not a large knife. It's a thick knife, as you can see, but it's definitely not large, and that's a problem when we consider the dimensions of the blade for a couple of reasons. First, the blade is extremely thick, and that would be fine on a larger knife or maybe a taller blade with a more flat ground bevel, but on this knife the bevel is extremely thick out of the box. It's not a slicey knife at all, which is a problem when we consider the size of the blade. If you have a larger blade, you can drag the edge and make a longer cut, even if the edge is less bitey, and it should perform fine. But with that small of a cutting edge and a thick secondary bevel as it comes out of the box, it's a real problem. Therefore, on this one you can see I reprofiled it. It's the first thing I do with any cold steel Bushranger that comes into my hands. I reprofile it, and it betters the performance quite a bit, but still not enough. This grind is not tall enough for the thickness of the blade, and the secondary bevel is always too thick on Bushrangers. Second thing, this false edge right here is very much false. As you can see, there's a large shelf right here where the false edge starts, and although we get a very thick point, which is appreciable, it's a very robust blade, you get aesthetics benefits but nothing else, and you even lose when it comes to penetration, because this shelf is extremely sharp and will catch on anything you try to puncture, whether it be cardboard, maybe flesh, animal skin, anything. It's going to catch. It's extremely bitey here, and it's also uncomfortable if you were to place your fingers on the top of the blade. So I'm not a fan of that. That's a blade that doesn't know what it wants to be. The thumb disc now. This thumb disc is, although handsome and well placed and very functional in my opinion, it allows for very easy deployment, at least for my size of hands. I do not like it for one reason. Again, the blade is quite small, and if you had to perform quite aggressive tasks such as a little bit of batoning, maybe some chopping, or very hard cutting of thick material such as wood or very thick cardboard, for instance, this thumb disc is going to catch and it's going to rip off. And that's actually my experience. A thumb disc on a Bushranger tends to very quickly loosen up, and then it gets caught and the screws just strips out. It's not even a very long screw, and it just strips out. It's a very thin and not very long screw, and this catches and gets ripped off. It's not really a fun thing to have happen to you. So yes, this thumb disc to me is a mistake. Although an aesthetic, the right aesthetic choice, it's not the right practical choice. I would much rather have a thumb hole, a blade hole, deployment hole, to deploy the blade, and do away with the so-called wave feature that doesn't actually work. This wave feature here, given the guillotine effect on the triad lock, is much too hard to overcome from the pocket. I've never managed to reliably use it. So to me, the placement of the thumb disc does not allow for a waveable opening, and it's also a usage hazard and weakness on the blade. I would have much preferred to have a simple deployment hole inside in the blade. Yes, it would have been less aesthetically pleasing, but much more practical in my opinion. So yeah, this blade to me doesn't really know what it wants to be. This clip point is not aggressive enough for tactical work, the blade is too thick for woods work, and the secondary bevel is much too thick for any work. So I don't like this blade. Although aesthetically pleasing, it doesn't satisfy any need in my opinion. Now to the handle. This handle is extremely conducive to a saber grip. As you can see, the placement of the grooves inside on the handle is perfect for a saber grip like this, and we can see that because of this angle right here between the guard, the lower guard here and the higher guard here, there is a definite incline to the guard like this, which is conducive to the placement of the thumb right there and to angle the grip forward in a saber grip. And that's fine if this handle was large enough for that, but it's not. If you have large hands, you're going to have an issue right here. It's going to dig into your hand. Again, a saber grip is more of a utilitarian and combat grip, and this blade with its length and thickness and style here doesn't really allow for combat purposes. So I'm not sure why Cold Steel went for a saber grip on a supposedly non-combat blade. It's a combination that doesn't work for me. And then you could think that you could go for a choked up grip like this, and even a barrel grip like this for bushcraft tasks, and it doesn't work either, because this portion of the handle is too thick, which makes all the pressure of the gripping go at the base of the index finger here. Everything is here, and those three fingers do not serve any purpose, and they don't grip much. And that's extremely tiring on the hand, especially with this thicker secondary bevel here that doesn't allow for slicing action. So you're going to tire very easily. I've been there, done that, and I know it. This knife is very tiring and not very secure to use. And that's a problem when we are talking about a supposedly multi-use, hard-use folder, overbuilt folder like this. It's really a problem. So this grip to me is not comfortable. When it comes to barrel grip like this in a normal configuration, it's also a bit lacking. Why? Because there's an extreme length between the start of the edge and the start of your hand, and that creates leverage, of course, and that makes it also very tiring to use, and diminishes, of course, the strength and the energy transmission, and therefore the slicing power, and that's really a problem. So this grip is very much only conducive to one type of grip, which is the saber grip, as I said, and the saber grip is not the right grip for this blade. This blade would benefit, given its thickness and lack of sliciness, from a very secure and choked up barrel grip, which it does not allow in my opinion. That's a problem. Now let's go to the clip. This pocket clip here, although handsome and rather discreet, it's extremely stiff, and it makes the putting and taking back out of the pocket of this knife extremely hard. You've basically got to do it with both hands, and you've got to even straighten the edge of the pocket of the fabric of your pants to be able to slide this very thin portion here over the edge of the pocket. So this clip is not curved enough in my opinion, and it's much too stiff as well. So this clip is a nightmare to use. Trust me, it's really a nightmare to use. It's a problem when it comes to putting it back in the pocket, and it's even more of a problem when it comes to taking the knife out of the pocket. And for a knife that seems to claim to have some sort of tactical capabilities, it's really a problem. I do not like this pocket clip. The only redeeming factor is the bead blast finish, which is handsome in my opinion, and the fact that it's reversible for left-handed carry. Now, the triad lock to me is absolutely fine. I love the triad lock. This one is very well done. There is no lock stick, but you have to note that it needs to be depressed very deeply to disengage the blade. To me, that's a good thing. It means the lock engagement is deep and therefore quite solid, but it's something to keep in mind. You really, even for a triad lock, have to press very deep for the blade to disengage. Maybe if you have, if you're an old guy with maybe arthritis problems, or maybe you tend to bite your skin on your fingernails or whatever, and you have sensitive extremities, maybe this type of lock, and especially the lock on this bushranger, is not the best for you. That's for you to decide, of course. We've got a lanyard hole, which is fine. It's there, it's fine. There's one very small thing. It's a small personal thing, but I do not like the size of the screws that they use. I find for a knife that should be that strong, that one should use a bit more robust and maybe a bit thicker screws. But that's a very small pet peeve of mine, and that's not an issue I encountered on the couple bushrangers that I owned. They never stripped any screws here, or I never lost any, so it's really just a theoretical problem. So yeah, I very much like, again, the aesthetics on this blade. I find it very handsome. I kept buying a couple, another one and another one, and then selling them and buying another one in the hope of getting a more slicey version, and I never was satisfied, so I kept selling or giving them away, and this one is no exception. I'm going to sell it as well. It's actually found its new owner already, and I'm just doing this video as a, if you will, a goodbye ritual. And yeah, that was the cold steel bushranger. The steel is fine, S35VN is great, the aesthetics is fine, the chamfering on the G10 is great, but only in one very specific grip. All the characteristics of this blade, to me, are not do not work well with each other. You've got a very strong blade, but with a handle that's not conducive to strong gripping. You've got a very strong lock, but with a blade that's not technically inclined. And you've got a very strong blade for hard use, but the deployment means is in the way and risks getting stripped off during use, and that's very weird on this knife. The actual use cases to me are not very defined. So go for it if you want to. If you really want to use this knife because you are in love with the aesthetics, of course you can go for it. It's very well made. It's very well assembled, made in Taiwan. The steel is good. The handle is very well made. The clip is usable, provided you maybe bend it a little bit. It's a usable knife, but to me it lacks vision. It lacks a unifying principle that would make all the characteristics of the blade come together, and it lacks that, in my opinion. So yeah, that was my 2 cents on the cold steel bushranger. Don't hesitate to give me your input. Go for likes and of course subscribing and comments. I'm really curious to hear about your experiences and your opinions on this knife, and have a good one, guys. Peace.